And in today's video I'm going to talk about playing in your art practice, and you're going to see me paint a giant doodle. At least that's how I think of this specific painting. Now, this specific painting started with a sale on that specific paper, which is studio paper. I don't even recall the brand, probably Canson or something like that. I live in France, so I do have access to cheap French materials, if that makes sense. Usually when they're on sale, it's French materials, so that one is probably Canson, but I'm not too certain about it. And it's studio paper that is pretty big. It's almost an A0, I think. And at that time, when it was on sale, I was sort of wanting to paint a bit bigger, but without wanting to invest in anything. And also just to have fun, if that makes sense. I've been trying to really implement having more fun in my art practice, because as you might know, I am a full-time artist, so it is also my job. The main problem when you transform your passion into a job is that your passion becomes a job. So you might not have fun all the time when you paint or sculpt or whatever, yet it's still something that you really enjoy, so you need to make time for the fun part in other ways. So one way I've found this year is to buy a cheap block of watercolor paper that is cellulose. You cannot layer on that paper at all, or almost not. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's all right. And I basically just do kind of abstract doodles on it, which is fun. In any case, when I saw that giant paper, I think it came in 10 sheets, so I still have 9 sheets left. I just thought, okay, it would be fun to make a giant doodle, to have it around the studio. You know, the paper's up on my easel that I don't use all the time because I'm mostly a sculptor. And just have fun. And so I started on that paper, I think 2 years ago, something like that. I don't recall, to be honest. And then I put it away. And recently I was like, why not finish that one? I feel like I need to play a little bit more. And so I brought it back out, and then I continued from what I've started. And it was very abstract in the beginning, and I didn't film it at the start because it was supposed to be just for fun. And then, I don't know, I started filming it, and it started to become something that was not that bad in the end. The abstract shapes turned into a coral reef because, no surprise here, I do coral reef shapes all the time in my work, even if it's not coral reef related. And then I decided I wanted to do a moray eel. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, so I apologize for that. I didn't check up front. First moray eel, then a snake moray eel, then I added a triggerfish, and then a bunch of butterfly fishes. And all in all, I had a lot of fun. I didn't think too much of it. I didn't plan any kind of composition. I just kind of went with the flow, and I think that's kind of important in your art practice, but it's not always doable, because if you are working as a full-time artist, you have to think at least a bit about composition and in which direction to steer an artwork. And it's fine to just play around, but if you do just that, then you're probably not going to evolve a lot as an artist. So you have to have at least some intent in your normal practice. But sometimes it's nice to just let go of all of that and do whatever the heck you like without thinking too much about how it's going to look like, if it's going to be nice or whatnot. Or maybe for me it was just like, let's make it aesthetic basically, and not spend too much time on it. And I ended up showing it at my solo show in September here locally, and people actually really enjoyed it. I had it for a while on my website to sell, but then I just removed it and it's now hanging on my wall, because honestly for me it's just a doodle. It's just a giant doodle. I feel like the intention of an artist is important. If people like it and would buy it, it's nice. But if you as an artist just see the work you've done, or the paintings or the sculptures you've done, and you feel like it's just not on par with the rest of your artworks, it's just a doodle, a giant doodle, then I think it's best to keep it for yourself. I mean, you can show it, but I don't think you have to try and make money out of everything you do, basically. I think monetizing your hobby is not always the best idea, just because it kind of removes the fun out of it, if that makes sense. So this is something that as an artist, as a professional artist, in the sense that I do make a living and I do sell my artwork, so I do art to make money. I feel like it's a slippery slope for me, because every time I touch or start something, I always think at some point, oh, is this sellable, basically. And that can remove the fun out of it. It's also a reason why I developed a sketchbook practice a little bit more, because when I paint in a sketchbook, then obviously I'm never going to sell whatever I'm doing in there, even if it looks nice, just because it's in a sketchbook, and I'm not super interested in doing prints of everything I do, because I feel like that's almost another job. But the sketchbook at least gives you that freedom of doing whatever you want without having to worry about, selling it somehow, someone, or even if it looks really good, if people really like it, you're just being like, yeah, well, it's in my sketchbook, I don't care. It's just like, it was fun, it looks nice, I'm not interested in that. And on the contrary, if you do something in your sketchbook that you do really like, then maybe it's opening up a new path, a new direction in your artwork that you're maybe inclined to do. I had that recently. I went on a trip to Asia last year. I've talked about it here and there, but I haven't done any video about it. And in any case, in that sketchbook, I painted some water lilies so I started with a very granulating watercolor background, and then I painted the water lilies in gouache, and then I made that into a painting. I actually have a video about that painting on my channel where I talk about it a bit more. But this typically started as I just want to paint water lilies in gouache because I wanted to try gouache a little bit more on that granulating background, and then I really liked the result and was like, maybe I just want to make an actual painting out of it. And then I put some intent, I thought about composition, and I did the painting. I'm not saying it's the best painting I ever did, but it's just kind of part of the process. When you play, you often try out materials that you have lying around, but that you didn't really focus too much on, but it kind of helps you learn about those materials, have fun with those, and maybe opens up ideas. Now this giant doodle you're seeing me work on, I actually started with watercolors in the bag, and then when I added the fish, I first used regular gouache, and then I switched to acrylic gouache simply because it was easier to layer things. I find gouache is sometimes a bit difficult, especially when you paint that big. I feel it's a bit easier on smaller paintings. But yeah, I don't typically work with gouache a lot, but I had a lot of fun painting this specific painting. And I do want to try things with gouache more, and I sort of plan that for an upcoming residency beginning of next year. So I will play with gouache more. But yeah, I think that's really important to just kind of go with the flow of what you want to do in a specific moment and just do it and get it out of your head. See if you like the process, see if you like the results, and go from there. I have another example like this. So I've started painting with oils quite recently, a few years ago, but again, here and there, my practice is really about sculpting and sculptures, and the artworks I usually sell are sculptures. So anything that is painting related, even though I put that a lot on my YouTube channel, is always more on the side. And oil painting, I kind of wanted to just do a painting a day. I made one and I didn't even finish it. It was lichen. I love lichen. It was lichen, and I think I spent 2 hours on it and was like, yeah, that's not going to be an option. However, the lichen I picked, I really depicted it very realistic, not very realistically, just realistically, and I really loved how it looked. And then I implemented that specific lichen study. I have it on my wall right now, and I have had it on my wall since the moment I painted it. I used it as a reference for most of my paintings now, just because I really like lichen, and so I have the reference around me because it's super useful. So I feel like playing is also super useful for future references, even though they're not planned for that in the first place. Maybe you just wanted to draw a lichen, or maybe you just wanted to draw your houseplants or whatnot. And then suddenly you're like, I really like that. This looks cool. And then you implement it in future paintings or sculptures or any kinds of drawings or artworks. So this is also an important part that you don't really think about when you play. Because when you play, you just go with whatever you want to do. And this is really important because as an artist, sometimes it's easy to get swayed by trends and what's working and what you think is going to sell. But really, doing art should always be about what you're most interested in, because this is where you're possibly going to shine, just because it's going to be your unique vision of the world and your unique sensibility and emotions, and everything is going to be uniquely you. And as an artist, that's really your only goal in life, is to try and show your vision of the world to the public. And maybe there's meaning with it, maybe it's political, maybe it's not, maybe it's just aesthetic. But playing really helps to refine that specific vision and also to refine your preferences. I know I really like natural history, in case you didn't realize. So whenever I do play and do studies, it's always about nature. I never do portraits, for instance. Now, someone else might do portraits all the time. So playing is important, and it's a part of the life of an artist that's, well, sometimes gets a bit forgotten. So yeah, that's kind of all I had to say for today's video. Play more so your art can become better. And I know I'm going to try and play more as well, because I'm really not the best at it. But at least I'm trying. A for effort, I guess. And yeah, thank you so much for watching this video of me painting and talking a little bit about art and the daily life of an artist or something like that. If you watched it until now, please leave a fish emoji or an ocean emoji, because that was, the theme of today's painting. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you liked it. And yeah, and let me know if you have any other advice that I might have forgotten, or any other added benefits of playing with your materials that I haven't touched in this video, because I'm sure I have forgotten a lot of them. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!